a big Carhartt jacket in the
Well, I left home, it was real nice out there.
car.
Hey, Chief, could you grab that sign-up sheet? Thank you, sir. All right, folks, I have 5:30. Call the meeting to order. Ask you please stand for a prayer by Justice Wilbanks. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I call on Justice Wilbanks.
Heavenly Father, we thank you that we live in a country that's free. We thank you that we live in a country that's safe. We ask your blessings on those who lead us, those who protect us, both abroad and here in our emergency services people. Help us to do as you'd have us do, Lord, in Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Ask clerk to call the roll.
Aaron Carruthers.
Here.
Alan George.
Here.
Philip Haney.
Here.
Jackie Heflin.
Here.
David Ivey.
Here.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Here.
Margaret Motley.
Here.
Lane Scott.
Here.
Jordan Sowers.
Here.
Bill Sparks.
Here.
Blake Tarpley.
Here.
Tim Wittenberg.
Here.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Here.
Recognize the presence of a quorum. Should have had a journal of proceedings as mailed to you. Any questions or discussion?
Move for its adoption, George.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports. All we have was budget, so I'll let you take it over, Mr. Chairman.
We did, Judge. Had several items on the agenda, and all were brought before the full court for consideration this evening.
Thank you. Under correspondence, I don't have anything, so we'll move to comments from the public on agenda items. Looks like the first would be Ms. Kelly Goocher, reference agenda item casino resolution, which is number 14.
Good evening. 4 years ago, myself and others set out to have our voices heard regarding the economic growth and development a resort would bring to Polk County. During that time, those with more power and more money put a plan into action to use their resources to silence and to bully those who dare speak up with an opinion different from theirs. We would not be silenced. Instead, we educated ourselves on the benefits of having such a business and community partner in Polk County. We listened, C&B listened, to all elected officials' concerns on infrastructure and on other needs in our hometown. As well, every single proposal was made available to us by the judge for anyone who wished to review them. Officials and members of the community researched the documents and attended open presentations as they vetted each and every resort that wished to hold a license in this county. There was no comparison to Cherokee Nation business. Not only were they superior, but they addressed the concerns the elected officials had in every area. To assist in the effort to make sure Polk County had the support it needed, they offered a first ever economic development agreement, providing the county with upfront money to address those needs as soon as the project took off. Those against it looked at this commitment in a negative light and stated Polk County is not for sale. They stated they wanted a vendor that was best for Polk County. If we must have a casino, we want the best casino, a true community partner. It's not all about the money. Now here we are 4 years later. C&B has delivered constant support to the community. its nonprofits, and pouring time and effort into Pope County, the surrounding counties, and Arkansas as a whole. Yet in an effort to delay, yet again, some of you sit here tonight as if you never involved yourself in the campaign, Pope County is not for sale. And you use the excuse now that not supporting C&B in this final phase is valid because we could get an offer for more money. So I ask you, is Pope County for sale? Are you for sale? Who and what has been keeping you from supporting a business that has come in and completely entrenched itself in a place we call home? Loved our community, supported its people, gives so generously to those in need. If you don't know, it's because you don't want to know. If you don't see, it's because you don't choose to see. If you don't care, it's because you choose not to care. And if you don't have the backbone to do what's right, it's because you just don't have a backbone at all. And then the question has been answered.
Ms. Gooch,
Pope
that's
County is
time.
for sale, and so are you.
All right, next I have Mr. Chuck Garrett speaking on item 14 as well.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Court. Want to also thank Justice Wilbanks for the resolution being introduced this evening. I'm Chuck Garrett. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Cherokee Nation Businesses. I've worked with many of you for several years now, in some cases, and I appreciate the dedication that you as individuals and you as a group have committed to this county and to this process. You know, 5 years ago when we started this effort, we did a lot of listening, and we came to sit down with the community, several of you. We got feedback. We heard your interest, your desires, the things that you were concerned about, and we have worked very, very hard throughout this course to address those issues. We think we have a tremendous project that will bring great economic development to this community. We have 350 acres that we own in the community already. We are poised. We've gone through the Planning Commission process. We are poised to commence this development. The commitment we have had to this community can be seen tonight. We'll have, for I think the 5th time, representation in the Christmas parade. We will have supported nonprofits in this community for the last 5 years. We've become someone that you can count on. Our word is good. There has been some discussion about whether we would honor the economic development because of some sovereign immunity and some other legal concepts that simply don't apply to this situation. I believe the county attorney, as well as the Cherokee Nation Attorney General, has provided documentation, letters, acknowledging that fact that the sovereign immunity concept is not applicable here. It is not something that you need to worry about in terms of enforceability of this economic development agreement, which we initiated to offset the impact that we knew the project would have on the community. The 1,000 jobs, the other tax revenue that will be generated from the project, but also the fact that there would be other development. We wanted the police, the fire, first responders to have additional resources to be able to meet that burden. So we have tried to be very thoughtful about this process. We appreciate your engagement, and we look forward to being your community partner for the decades to come. Thank you.
All right, next I have Mr. Seth Ritter wanting to address 2 topics, items 14 and 15. Mr. Ritter.
Topics to be addressed separately, or is the time for both?
Well, we normally allow about 2 minutes per topic, so if you want to get 2 on one and 2 on another, you're welcome to it.
All right, let's do 2 on 2. Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Captain Retired Seth Ritter. I rise to speak in opposition of the proposed resolution number 14. That should probably include a disclaimer that it was sponsored and paid for by Legends Casino, much like everything else in this county as of late. I would like to direct the body's attention to the very odd public letters and support Mr. Cross has provided to Cherokee Nation businesses and no other party. I would also like to caution this body against voting for a measure expressing the legislative body of this county's unwavering support of a sole organization prior to the bidding process completing. Such an action not only demonstrates favoritism in the bidding process, but also potentially opens up the county to litigation from the other organizations involved in the bidding process. If you would like to provide grounds for litigation, please, by all means, vote in support of this resolution. I would also like to draw your attention away from the dollar signs that have been flashing before you and direct you to the very real fact that unspeakable crime skyrockets anywhere that these casinos land. No amount of public bribes, donations or funds, pardon me, will undo the rape, murder, or drug addiction of your fellow citizens. You can look your constituents, your neighbors, in the eyes and tell them how X% of additional drug addiction, rape, and violent and petty crime was worth the additional money. Again, we, your neighbors, will not forget the choice you make. That concludes that one. All right. All right, I rise to speak today in support of resolution, I believe it's 15, for the vacancy of the seat. 2 days ago in this very room, Mr. Cross stood up here and threatened civil litigation against anyone who dared follow their oath and the law. He then admitted to misappropriating taxpayer dollars by securing and utilizing legal representation for a personal matter. Let's assess the civil litigation threat. In his baffling threats, he mentioned specifically at timestamp 2833 a quote-unquote Title 18 violation referring to Code 18. Title 18 is comprised of 5 parts and 6,005 sections. I'll help him and his legal advisor out to narrow it down. They're most likely referring to Title 18, Chapter 13, that deals with civil rights violations, because that is what he very poorly attempted to communicate while threatening each and every one of you. In no way has Mr. Scott deprived Ms. Sowers of any civil right, nor would properly following the steps to introduce a resolution and then this body voting on said resolution deprive Ms. Sowers of due process or any civil right by the letter of the law. Any attempt at independent civil litigation will be dead on arrival and rejected by a competent and unbiased court. In fact, it is the very duty of this body to follow Arkansas law and the Arkansas Constitution. Mr. Cross then goes on to threaten you all another time with litigation if you don't vote the way he wants you to on 2 more occasions. In this ridiculous and, might I add, very illegal diatribe, he cites Arkansas Supreme Court case law and then urges you to go read it. I would question if Mr. Cross actually read Brick v. Simonetti, 1983. 1, it is an entirely different scenario and situation from the one we find ourselves discussing. Redistricting prior to an election and then a candidate making every effort to live in the district they are running for couldn't be more different from the current controversy of residing and claiming tax credit outside one's district. If Mr. Cross and company took the time to read through the text of Brick v. Simonetti, they would find that the Arkansas Supreme Court clearly lists what constitutes residency and that their decision wholly supports, by preponderance of the evidence, Mr. Scott's resolution. Any challenge to the vacation of the position utilizing Brick v. Simonetti will also be dead on arrival in any competent court and then ultimately reaffirmed by the Arkansas Supreme Court should it make it that far. If Mr. Cross is alleging a Title 18 violation under the criminal code chapters, might I add, and that one would be open to quote-unquote litigation for the heinous crime of following the law and your oath, is he alleging and admitting that Ms. Sowers committed some sort of crime?
That's your time, sir.
Excellent, thank you. I appreciate this body.
Next I have Mr. Hans Stieritz on item 14.
Hans Stieritz. I know most of you all have seen and heard me here before. And I want to speak to the CNE resolution that's on the agenda tonight. Just a couple of quick comments, really. This is really starting to look like 2019 all over again. A negotiation without public disclosure. We don't have any information on this. The public knows nothing about what's been going on. As far as the public knows, there is no valid executed EDA with CNE, and yet you're discussing a resolution to support them exclusively tonight. As I mentioned at last month's meeting, because of tribal sovereign immunity, agreements with tribal entities are often unenforceable. And I suggested that you all discuss with Ms. Luker what that meant for this resolution. I'm wondering if you all have done any of that and what her response was. Now, Mr. Garrett here referred to that supposedly some evidence has been given that this does not apply in this situation, but the public knows nothing about it. I hope we'll hear some of that tonight addressed directly and in detail before any action is taken. Some of you stated that you just want the best deal for Polk County, even though you may not support a casino yourself. Tribal sovereign immunity simply means that well, no matter what is presented in a contract with an Indian tribe, they can, if it's not explicitly waived their immunity, they can walk away from that contract. You'll also note that the 2019 EDA did not include a waiver of immunity. I mean, if it doesn't matter one way or the other, why not include it to be sure and clear that it is enforceable against the tribes? Second, I want to suggest that you please consider your fiscal and representative duty to the county to consider all possible proposals. In light of the real possibility that the Racing Commission will issue another call for applications, to exclusively endorse a potential applicant before all options are presented and considered might be perceived as serious dereliction of duty. Finally, I'd like to add that we continue to see the secrecy and blatant disregard for the principles of open representation and transparency. Just this past Tuesday, 2 days ago, several JPs met in the judge's office with the county judge before the budget meeting, out of the eye and ear of the public and media. The public has a right to know what our representatives are discussing and deciding on matters of county business. Thank you.
All right, next I have Miss Anna Stewart speaking on item 15.
Thank you. With regards to the Quorum Court taking action about Justice Sowers' residency in her district, in other words, whether she actually lives there or just owns a house there that her relatives live in, Arkansas law is clear that it's the duty of the Quorum Court to take action if there's a reason to believe she doesn't reside in her district. It's not a question for the county judge to answer to his satisfaction or not. Instead, the responsibility lies with the Quorum Court. Judge Cross has warned you that if you take action on this issue, you could be sued and be personally liable. Please disregard this. The only thing you could ever be liable for while acting in your official capacity is an intentional tort. That's like false imprisonment, assault or battery, also fraud. But if you act in good faith, not fraudulently, you are fine. So please do your duty without worrying. Additionally, I would like to publicly ask Judge Cross to respect Arkansas law and not continue to hold any private meetings with JPs. Justices Heflin, Haney, Motley, and Wittenberg, I would ask you not to attend them. They are illegal. Besides meeting privately with a group of JPs, Judge Cross, you ended Tuesday's budget meeting with a discussion that was not on the agenda, so the public wasn't sufficiently notified. This is also not compliant with Arkansas law. The county attorney can advise you about Arkansas FOIA law if you have questions. People in Polk County deserve to have their elected officials obey all applicable state laws, not just the ones that are convenient. As a voter here, I respectfully ask you to hold yourselves to the standard the law requires. Thank you.
Next I have Casey McCrane talking on item 15.
Sorry, I wasn't prepared. Good evening, Judge Cross and members of the Quorum Court. My name's Casey McCrane, as you just heard, and a few of you know me, but most of you don't. I'm the brother-in-law of Justice Sowers. I regret that I feel the need to be here tonight to represent the truth this evening. But based on the news reports and postings on political pages I've seen in the past 2 weeks, I felt the urgency to be at this meeting. First of all, I'm not here to take a side. I'm not here for or against anyone. My sole purpose for being here tonight is to represent the truth. As the judge and members of the Quorum Court, each of you have been sworn into office and have taken oaths to serve a role in our government. This role is to represent the people and uphold the laws of our country. Laws which were put in place to protect the people and improve upon them. This position was not forced upon you, nor was it easily won by you. Each position represented has parameters and laws in place to determine if you can run for your current position. These laws and rules were not created overnight or on a whim. And with all that being said, one rule for JPs is that they reside in your own district, as you all know, in order to hold that position. Their domicile has to be in a place, or in this case, district, that they represent. I'm here tonight as witness that Justice Sowers' primary place of dwelling, her domicile, is in District 3 at 606 Upper Pine Ridge Road in Russellville, 500 feet away from my home. Thank you.
Last person I have is Rebecca McCrane, reference item 15.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca McCrane, Jordan Sowers' biological sister. Only for the sake of truth am I here today. If I do not stand up for truth, I will be by default agreeing with deception, and my faith will not allow me to do so, even in these very difficult personal circumstances. I will begin with quotes from an article I recently stumbled upon while researching how to help my children focus better on their schoolwork. Habits was the answer, and truthfulness is of the utmost importance in habit forming. Thus, these quotes are relevant for this meeting and discussion. Habits form character. A person who is known for being truthful is truthfully habitual, not just once in a while. A person's habits form his character. In cultivating the habit of truthfulness, we should ask ourselves, do we love the truth and hold it in high esteem? Or do we view it as something that can be bent and manipulated to serve our own purposes? Truth is defined as this: the body of real things, events, and facts. Ladies and gentlemen, the matter at hand is this: where does my sister, Jordan Sowers, live? What are facts? I am a witness here today to say she lives beside me in District 3. She has lived there since the fall of 2022 as my neighbor. She resides in her permanent residence, where she spends the majority of her time, as well as sleeping and eating, where her husband and children live, where she keeps her pets and breeds her dogs. Members of the court, I ask you to reflect on your own character at this moment. Do you love the truth? Do you seek the truth for your constituents with high character, with honesty and truth as your habits? I hope you will seek what is true, real, and factual. I hope someday in the future you can look back on this moment and be at peace with your own habits of truth. Thank you.
All right, that's all the comments I have that signed up to talk about agenda items on tonight's agenda. We have a few people that signed up for some general topics that will be addressed at the end of the meeting. All right, and just so you're aware, we're going to take a recess in about 5 minutes so I can meet the mayor on the front steps to light the courthouse. So there'll be a brief recess, and then we'll come back after about a 5-minute recess. All right, under unfinished business, I have the second reading of an ordinance for franchising. Justice Motley.
Yes, Judge, this is the second reading of ordinance affirming the commitment of the Polk County to provide ambulance service to the citizens and visitors of Polk County. I move for its adoption.
Again, this is for second reading only, so once it's been initiated, they'll have the clerk read, and then it'll be up for a third and final reading at our January meeting for passage. So it requires no discussion. I'll just have the clerk read the title.
Do we need a second for that?
Yes, we'll go ahead and Jordan
I'll
second.
second.
Yeah.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance affirming the commitment of Pope County to provide ambulance service to the citizens and visitors of Pope County through continued support of the Pope County Emergency Medical Services by granting an exclusive franchise for all geographical territory inside Pope County for all patient transfers, and an exclusive franchise for all calls for emergency medical services for all geographical territory inside Pope County, except within the city limits of Russellville, Arkansas, and for other purposes.
Thank you. Under new business, item number 2 is an appropriation ordinance. Justice Wittenberg.
Yeah, Judge, this is an ordinance appropriating and levying the millage taxes for all property in Polk County, Arkansas for the year of 2023 to be collected in 2024 and for other purposes. And I understand the millage has not gone up, so it'd be the same as last year, and I move for its adoption.
Second, Sowers.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance appropriating and levying millage taxes on all property in Pope County, Arkansas for the tax year 2023 to be collected 2024 and for other purposes.
Discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Aaron Carruthers,
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 3, an ordinance for insurance. Justice Sowers.
This is an ordinance setting the rate the county will pay for all the full-time county employees' insurance and declaring an emergency.
Have a second, Justice Ivy. Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Being enacted by the Quorum Court County of Pope State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance setting the rate the county will pay for full-time county employees' insurance and declaring an emergency.
Discussion or questions? If not, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 4 is an appropriation ordinance for the annual budget. Justice George.
Judge, I'll proudly present this before the court tonight after a lot of hours put in by our department head and county employees and a couple of meetings that we took to go over it. An ordinance to appropriate and establish the annual operating budget for calendar year 2024, and I move for its adoption.
Second, Wilbanks.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court County of Pope State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to appropriate and establish the annual operating budget for calendar year 2024.
Discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 5 is an amending ordinance. Justice Heflin.
Yes, sir, this is an amending, this is an ordinance amending section 6 of the ordinance 2023-01, establishing the rules and procedures all required in special sessions of the Polk County Quorum Court and declaring emergency. I move for its adoption.
Second, Sowers.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask the clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court County of Pope State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance amending section 6 of ordinance number 2023-0-001 and declaring an emergency.
Discussion or questions?
You mind giving a survey of exactly what's occurred?
This is, if you'll remember, we had a budget meeting a couple of months back where we failed to establish a quorum. And there was a discussion about what constitutes a quorum at a committee meeting. And so after your input, the county attorney drafted this to clarify that it means a majority of the committee assigned and not just a majority of who shows up. So that's what's been clarified in the procedural ordinance. Any other discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 6, an appropriation ordinance. Justice Sparks.
Judge, this is an ordinance appropriating $27,705.58 from the Emergency 911 Fund for the Office of Emergency Management Department, and I move for its adoption.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court County of Pope State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance appropriating $27,705.58 from the Emergency 911 Fund for the OEM Department.
Discussion or questions? This is a grant from the Arvest Foundation that the county received. This is money coming in, and it'll be used to purchase a side-by-side for search and rescue. If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 7, appropriation ordinance. Justice Wittenberg.
Judge, this is an ordinance appropriating $14,000 from the general fund for the collector and the juvenile housing. Both of these are because of shortages and price going up on the care of the juveniles, and I move for its adoption.
Second, Heflin.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court County of Pope State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance appropriating $14,000 from the general fund for the collector and juvenile housing departments.
Discussion or questions?
I believe some of this is also due to housing juveniles being charged as adults and the increased rate that we have to pay for that going on as well.
Yes, if they're juvenile charged as an adult, it doubles the rate for holding.
Or if they're a juvenile that's incarcerated or detained due to a family in need of services case, that's also a $200 a day rate.
Discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. At this point, we'll take a 10-minute recess, reconvene at 6:10, or when everybody is back in their seats, if it's prior to. Yeah, you can stop it. You can stop it.
You can just pause it and make it start back on the live feed.
What's that?
You know, we did.
On our live feed, you can pause it.
Oh, I don't know.
They said it was the best one they've ever had. Yeah. So I guess I should have gone, but she had been to Little Rock for some appointments that night. She was born. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a flip side or a step side? Okay. Well, they're both good. Cleveland's kind of hot rock.
It is a little cool. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it is. I'm thinking
I
of
got
putting
enough
my
cool there
coat
for a
on.
minute, and then it kicked off. We're like, okay. Wait for the next round to come through.
See, 86 was the last year for car brothers. 87 most everybody. Some people go ahead and feel different. Yeah. A lot of aftermarket feels none of my old cars, if you went back there, all the car brothers. Yeah. Put it back to the original color.
Yeah.
What color was That'd be easy to change if you just kind of, yeah.
Hey, it's all right. No, not tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, we can make comments about this. Oh, sure, that'd be fine. Yeah, we do need to talk first.
Get up there and make sure. You try to talk.
My back pocket. Just got pulled up, I don't know how.
Exactly.
No.
And he was
Didn't hear about the fiasco yesterday.
I'm about to decide.
legal counsel.
Me and my sister got attacked by a big dog. Nearly killed my sister. I don't know if she was.
We know where he's staying.
Not that much.
My hands are always cold.
Cold hands on home.
I guess. I hope so. Oh, my feet's always cold.
My daddy.
Yeah.
My dad used to say, you know, he said your feet's supposed to run, your nose is supposed to smell, but he said my feet smell and my nose runs.
We got a full house upstairs. We're gonna watch the high school.
Yeah, I think we got quite a few out there. We'll stay in out front.
Good idea.
Yeah. Why not just do they can get here and turn here?
Yeah, or two, I don't know how many days.
Where'd they start?
Down there by
I was trying to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out there. I had to
Time gets away, don't it?
That's right.
but she
Had a lot of health issues.
well, the good year were like.
I rode down a couple of them towns like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Charles.
Just the traffic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can't dodge the deal.
No, it's okay.
We put some miles on and did some, I think, good things. And, I was in Poppy Park, Missouri, and Gary was transferred to, well, that's how I met him. Just really became acquainted and all.
There's Matt Gomes right there.
My wife is here.
How are you? I wish you could find one
Oh, no, it couldn't have been.
looking north on Denver. Just in the 100 block, right behind the first, where the sports scene used to be out here. The little thin building behind that was my grandfather. That was a hospital. My grandfather's brother. It was called the Haney Hospital. It's got Haney written at the top, 1926. And he went to St. Mary's. They started St. Mary's. He, Dr. Smith, Dr. Miller. I've got some letters in his old diaries and things. And, but I've never seen a picture where he had the name of his hospital. You know, he died in 1943. You probably won't find that. But I think that street used to be called Jefferson Street before they changed it to Denver.
Y'all are just gonna make.
Well, good to meet you. Well, so you won't get you some of this headache.
I probably won't never find one, but you know, it might be one.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I do it right here. No, it's right here. But back in the background, some kid on the iPad. Yeah.
I couldn't
Light it up?
remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Which one?
It wasn't like that Chevy Chase movie where you plugged it in and then went out.
Yeah, Christmas Vacation.
Kathy. Yeah. Actually, we can't stop the live meeting. We're going to start back in this year because the program that way.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They sent a message. So I'm glad
That's
I didn't.
fine. Yes, he caught me out there, and that's, I got that cleared, so.
We want to bring some candy or something up here next time.
Gotcha. So, yeah, that worked.
You know me.
All right, folks, I have 6:10. We'll come back to order. We recessed at item number 8, which is an appropriation ordinance. Justice Carruthers.
Yes, Judge, this is an ordinance appropriating $25,623 from the road fund for the road department, and I motion for its adoption.
Second.
And I'll remind you, everybody, to make sure your mics are down. All right, have a motion, have a second. Ask the clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance appropriating $25,623 from the road fund for the road department.
Discussion or questions? Again, this is grant money coming in from the Department of Natural Resources for the unpaved, it's an unpaved roads grant that I applied for earlier. All right, ask clerk to call the roll.
Margaret Motley,
Yes.
Lane Scott,
Yes.
Jordan Sowers,
Yes.
Bill Sparks,
Yes.
Blake Tarpley,
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg,
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks,
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers,
Yes.
Alan George,
Yes.
Philip Haney,
Yes.
Jackie Heflin,
Yes.
David Ivy,
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 9 is an appropriation ordinance. Justice Blaylock.
Yes, Judge, this is an ordinance appropriating $22,000 from the Communication Facility and Equipment Fund for the Detention Centers Department, and I move for its adoption.
Second,
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance appropriating $22,000 from the Communications Facility and Equipment Fund for the Detention Centers Department.
Discussion or questions? Remember, this is for the commissary fund. If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Lane Scott,
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Have a transferring ordinance. Justice Carruthers.
Yes, Judge, this is an ordinance transferring funds previously appropriated for the 2023 budget year for the EMS for the EMS fund for the EMS department, the general fund for the sheriff, coroner, treasurer, Potts Inn, and the veteran service departments, the road fund for the road department, and I motion for its adoption.
Second, Joe.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask the clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to provide for the 2023 fiscal budget to transfer funds that were previously appropriated in the EMS fund for the EMS department, the general fund for the sheriff, coroner, treasurer, Potts Inn, veterans, and detention center departments, the road fund for the road department.
Discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 11 is a reschedule. Justice Scott.
Judge, this is an ordinance rescheduling the 2024 Budget Committee and Quorum Court meetings for the months of March, July, and December of 2024 and declaring an emergency, and maybe next year we won't have to fight with a Christmas parade.
Yes, sir.
I will second that, Judge.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance rescheduling the 2024 Budget Committee and Quorum Court meetings for the months of March 2024, July 2024, and December 2024, and declaring an emergency.
Any further discussion or questions? And just as we discussed Tuesday night, remind you that January's meeting will be an all-in-one Thursday night. There'll be no need for budget and personnel in January. So it doesn't have to be part of this. I'm just reminding you. If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 12 is a resolution. Justice Spark.
Judge, this is a resolution authorizing the Polk County Judge pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 14-16-107 to negotiate the sale for the appraised value of the Polk County EMS land and improvements and the Polk County Road Department land and improvements to the City Corporation, Russellville, Arkansas. We have discussed this numerous times, but it's a formality that we have to take care of, and I move for its adoption.
Second, George.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court County of Pope State of Arkansas, resolution authorizing the Pope County Judge pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 14-16-107 to negotiate the sale for the appraised value of the Pope County EMS land and improvements and the Pope County Road Department land and improvements to the City Corporation of Russellville, Arkansas.
Further discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Blake Tarpley.
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Item number 13 is a resolution. Justice Ivy.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. This is a resolution reappointing Mr. Keith Frazier to the Crow Mountain Fire Protection District Board, and I move for its adoption.
I'll second that. Tarpley.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court County of Pope State of Arkansas, resolution confirming the reappointment of Keith Frazier to the Crow Mountain Fire Protection District Board.
Discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
Yes.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
Yes.
Jordan Sowers.
No. I mean, yes, sorry.
Bill Sparks.
Sorry.
Yes.
Blake Tarpley.
Resolution is adopted. Item number 14 is a resolution. Justice Wilbanks.
Judge, this is a resolution of support for Cherokee Nation Entertainment LLC's application for a casino gaming license and encouraging swift action by the Arkansas Racing Commission for the Polk County Casino license issue. And I'd move for its support.
Second, Sowers.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court County of Pope State of Arkansas, a resolution expressing support for Cherokee Nation Entertainment LLC's application for a casino gaming license and encouraging swift action by the Arkansas Racing Commission on the Pope County Casino license issue.
Discussion or questions?
Yeah, I think there are unanswered questions about tribal sovereign immunity. CNB or CNE AG says it doesn't apply unless it's claimed. I've got another article written by a law firm that says it applies unless it's waived. The AG's opinion, just like our AG's opinion, is not law. But why not just state it in the contract explicitly that it is waived? And if they're unwilling to do that, I would put no confidence in it. Another item is that we have a fiduciary responsibility. I like to say that word. We have an economic responsibility to listen to everybody, to listen to all offers. If we're saying we want to get the best offer, I never said we're for sale, but those that say we want the best offer will prove it this way. The last item I have on this is that I think Ms. Sowers has a conflict of interest. She has members of her family that are members of the Cherokee tribe. I'm not sure that she can vote on this without being conflicted. And I would like that reflected in the minutes, please.
Any other discussion or questions? Justice Ivey.
Thank you. I'm just going to read. I have a prepared statement here. I'll just read. Members of the court, I would like to strongly encourage you not to support this resolution. Given no one holds a license, it's absolutely not in the best interest of Pope County to prematurely limit our options for vendors. This resolution is actually totally unnecessary, given that the judge has already written a letter of support for the Cherokee Nation businesses. This, excuse me, this court is split. This effort is to discourage other vendors from pursuing a letter from the JPs and to create a situation in which the JPs cannot conduct any other business related to applications by other vendors for a casino. The sole purpose of this resolution is to give the public and the Racing Commission the appearance that this court is united behind the decision of the judge, and that's absolutely not true. It will simply discourage other vendors from seeking a letter in order to apply for the license that is precisely its purpose. Cherokee Nation Businesses already has what it needs in order to apply for the license when the appropriate application time comes. A letter of endorsement from both the judge and the quorum court is absolutely not required according to state constitution in Amendment 100. We all know this is a very, very dynamic situation, and it continues to change from day to day. Half of this court consists of new members in their first terms, which were not elected during the initial process following the passage of the constitutional amendment allowing the casino here. Very few of the current justices have had any opportunity to hear personally from and or vet any of the other potential vendors interested in coming to our community. The judge is well aware that several have reached out to the community recently as they've met with him. Some of those corporations, such as the very well-known Churchill Downs from Kentucky and Boyd Gaming from Las Vegas, which are just two companies that are earning more than $2 billion a year in annual revenue and have established a presence in several other states across the country. Passing this resolution makes the statement that our minds are already made up and we're not willing to examine or educate ourselves. I'm absolutely sure that there are other vendors who could potentially be a fit for our county, and this action will discourage them from having the chance to show us what they're willing to offer. This action is extremely premature. Since we know the judge's letter of support is enough to cause action by the Racing Commission, we owe it to ourselves and to our constituents to decide what we think is best for the community as the elected representatives of our wards. It's irresponsible, it's reckless, and it's careless of this court to refuse to vet other vendors, and we would not be working for the best interest of Polk County. It's our duty and responsibility to see that due diligence is done in this matter. The quorum court can still issue as many endorsements for a corporation it wishes, even if this resolution passes. Again, I'm encouraging you to consider these things and vote no on this resolution. Carefully take the time to consider the quorum court's options and obligations and give all interested parties an equal opportunity. It's for these reasons that I make a motion to table this matter at this time.
Okay, I have a motion. I said a second to table. I have a motion second. This is for tabling action to bring it to a vote. So the vote is only for the tabling action. I want everybody to be clear of that.
Did I have a second?
Yes, Justice Tarver. So on the motion to table only, I bring the clerk to call the roll.
Aaron Carruthers,
No.
Alan George,
Yes.
Philip Haney,
No.
Jackie Heflin,
No.
David Ivy,
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock,
Yes.
Margaret Motley,
No.
Lane Scott,
Yes.
Jordan Sowers,
No.
Bill Sparks,
Yes.
Blake Tarpley,
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg,
No.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
No.
By a majority vote, the tabling measure fails. Do I have further discussion or questions?
Judge, if I might.
Justice Wilbanks,
Since I'm
please
the one-
call the mic now.
I'm sorry, since I'm the one who wrote this, I have, and Judge Savvy and I both, I know we've spoken with person after person after person that has asked us to from these other gaming companies. And, you know, basically the thing with me is nobody, you know, I realize that, you know, they say, well, we're new in this. Well, they're doing this, I realize this is my first year on the Quorum Court, but I've lived in Polk County for over 60 years. That doesn't make me a freshman in the county, just a freshman on the Quorum Court. I've watched this process go through for the last 5 years, and there's always some reason to put it off, put it off, put it off, put it off. The reason I drafted this was to get it started, get the process going. It doesn't seem like we can do anything else on the Quorum Court until we get this issue resolved. And I feel like it is time to do so. I don't gamble, folks. I voted against Amendment 100. I don't owe Cherokee folks, Choctaw folks, racetrack people, I don't owe anybody a dime for my living, folks. Everything I made is my own. I won't even accept a bottle of water from anybody when I go to one of these meetings with these folks. I like all of them.
Point of
They're nice
order.
folks.
Point of order, Judge. Point of order.
Scott, what's your point of order?
Point of order is there's no motion on the floor. Discussion is appropriate before the vote, not after the vote.
We haven't
Sir,
voted.
we do have a motion and a second, and the tabling measure failed, so we are back in the discussion
Okay.
phase.
Okay.
Justice Wilbanks, before you're interrupted, go ahead.
I've watched these folks pay property taxes just like I do in Polk County. I've gone not only to the Polk County Fair and seen the legends stand there, but to the State Fair and seen the legends stand there. Even to the Peach Festival. They have been community oriented. No one else has been here, folks. No one else has been here. Everybody wants to jump in and get a piece of the apple, but nobody has really wanted to put in. And I am ready to help promote some folks that want to be in our county. I don't have a prepared statement. I'm not that organized, folks. I'm sorry. I'm not an attorney and don't pretend to be. But what I do see and what I do know is what I see, and that's what I've seen from these folks. And like I said, I don't owe them anything. What I'm doing is from my heart and from the best of Polk County. And I want everyone here to know that I have had, as of my last count, 114 people in my district, in my area, who have walked up to me personally and said they cannot understand why the Quorum Court will not support Cherokee business and get this done and over with. That includes everyone from loggers to educators to business owners. It's a broad spectrum. There is more than one opinion, and unfortunately, some people doesn't want to see everyone else's, that everyone else doesn't share their opinion. I don't share everyone's opinion, but this is what I have been asked to do, and this is what I'm doing, and I thank you for listening.
Any other discussion?
Judge.
Justice Sparks.
I speak, and I speak for myself only. In no way am I attempting to speak for a colleague here, but we have just seen that the Supreme Court in the state of Arkansas, which, why is it called the Supreme Court? It's the highest law of the state, has directed this back to the Racing Commission. Over these past 3 or 4 years, when the Supreme Court would have a ruling that it appeared to be favorable to CMB, everybody would always say, well, there it is. It's the Supreme Court. It's the highest court in the state. All of a sudden, now it doesn't matter. And I have nothing, I have no reason to say that I would not, if at the end of the day, a license is granted and that I wouldn't support the Cherokees. I don't think I've ever said anything like that. But I do think that it's a sad day when a divided court like this can have such an arrogant attitude toward the highest court in the state, and just say, well, everybody else has to follow what the Supreme Court says, but we don't have to. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
I'd like to make a comment on me abstaining. Just the fact that my husband and children's heritage is Cherokee does not bound me from not voting for a casino that wants to be here. Just a second. My husband has never worked for the Cherokee Nation in any form or fashion, so there's no conflict of interest. That's his heritage by birthright and has nothing to do with this. He's not going to work for them. He's not involved with them in any way. So I feel like saying that I should abstain is ludicrous.
Any other discussion or questions?
Yes, Judge.
Justice
I
Carruthers.
would just like to second what Mr. Wilbanks said and say that, the people in my district are, a lot of tech students and a lot of young families. And I think there's a reason there's a lot of newcomers on the court this year. And that's because, at least in my district, a lot of people have lost faith in the court that we are going to do anything productive. I mean, anyone I talk to my age or in my district pretty much has zero faith that we're going to get a casino ever, and they fully believe that the plan is to put this off as long as possible until we just don't end up with one. To address some of the community concerns on raised crime rates, I've done my research, as I try to do with everything that I do, and the general consensus seems to be, from what I have found, is that per capita crime rates do not increase. Of course, capita does increase because casinos bring in more interstate traffic and more workers and people living in the area. But on a general basis, if there's 10 crimes per 100 people, you end up still with 10 crimes per 100 people. And I think Cherokee has taken that into consideration with the EDA agreement of allowing us to increase our public service and, allowing us to build a new jail and increase our funds and paying for, law enforcement and first responders, EMS, things like that. I would also like to say that, as far as our fiduciary responsibility, that, boils down to doing what's best for the community. We run this county as a business, and I've ran a business in the past, and typically the way I tried to run my business was keeping my word. The example I give is we had a job with a veterinary clinic, and they had pre-scheduled months in advance to close their clinic for 2 weeks while we did the work that needed to be done on their clinic. Now we might say that, well, what if we got another job that wanted to be worked in at that same time frame? They were going to pay us double. Some people might say that, well, obviously the best thing for your business would be to do what's going to make the most money. And I would argue that the best thing for the business would be to keep our word and to work with the person that kept their word in scheduling their clinic to be closed for 2 weeks, because as soon as we would have taken another job and left them hanging, that business would have been on every social media site and bashing us and our company, and it might have been good for business in the short term to take a bigger paycheck, but in the long term, that probably would have ended up very bad for our business. So I say that to say that I think good business practice, good fiduciary practice is to do business with people that keep their word and to keep our word. And from everything I can see, Cherokee Nation Business has kept their word. They've been here with us for 5 years, just like Mr. Wilbanks has stated. They've contributed. They've been involved in the community. They have, given to nonprofit organizations, and they're at every public event that I go to. So that kind of concludes everything I had to say, and if there's anyone else that wants to speak.
Justice Motley.
I'd just like to go on the record supporting Cherokee Casino, and I think maybe I come to the court with maybe different eyes than maybe the rest of you. So I was very fortunate to be in a career that I sold food and drink programs to employee break rooms, and so probably literally been in thousands of break rooms across the state, and part of my territory was also in Oklahoma. So long before I even considered running for JP, long before any of this started, I was in and out of casinos because they were either a customer or a potential customer. So I got to see the backside. I think you can really learn a lot and get a good view of how employees think about their management. So I had the opportunity to be inside of casinos. I've been in the casino up at by Siloam Springs, West Siloam Springs. In fact, as I traveled, I would always make plans because every week I was staying overnight. as a female, you needed to give some time and attention to where you were staying. So if I had an appointment in Siloam Springs or Decatur or somewhere in northwest Arkansas, I would, without even considering anyone else, I would stay at the casino there in West Siloam Springs. It was clean, it was safe. I think a lot of people that have not been around casinos may have a misperception of it's dark, it's a tin building, all kinds of crime out on the parking lot. That's the furthest thing from the truth. It's very safe, it's very clean. The employees are obviously happy with their environment, and so I think maybe I see it through different eyes because I see them as an employer and I see it as a business opportunity. I think I've heard it mentioned in this court before, once in a lifetime, that will never return again. So from a business standpoint, as far as the revenue, as far as what I've seen on the backside of the way the Cherokee operates their business in northeast Oklahoma, and then when I made the commitment to run for JP, probably the sales background in me, I made the commitment to knock on every door in District 2. And I did that. I not only knocked on, I'm not saying everyone was home, I'm not saying I talked to everyone, but I knocked on every door. I went by address and knocked on every door. I campaigned all year. In all of those conversations that I had with people, it's like Aaron and Ronnie said, they're like, why can't the Quorum Court move forward on this? They don't understand. They're just like the legal mumbo jumbo is beyond them. And I've had so many people say, I voted against it. I'll not ever gamble a dime in the casinos, but I'm looking forward to the restaurants, to the concerts, to the different amenities that the casino will give us, not considering the casino gaming portion itself. So, as all of y'all, I'm sure, have gotten emails and texts and phone calls, but I kept a list of who was contacting me. And on that list, the ones that said no casino, my first question I would ask them is, do you live in District 2? And if they didn't live in District 2, then I wasn't so interested in hearing what they had to say. So on the anti-casino, every one of them did not live in District 2. I didn't question them further if they lived in Polk County or Arkansas or whatever, but there were a lot of out-of-state numbers coming up on my phone. Everyone that did contact me said, we need to move forward. It's been long enough. The court needs to vote for this and move forward. So I'm new. I've got a lot to learn. I know I have a lot to learn. I think this is the first time I've ever spoken at any length on the court. So I understand that I have a lot that I don't understand that has gone before me. But my constituents are saying, let's do it. And the last thing I'd like to say is and I've dealt with Ben ever since he's been county judge because of the relationship of the Potts Inn, and the county owns that piece of property. I don't know that the people of Polk County recognize how fortunate we are to have a man of Ben Cross's caliber. And I appreciate everything he does for the county. He does so much that's not even recognized, that he doesn't even take the credit for. But we're fortunate as a county to have someone leading us like Judge Cross, and I support Judge Cross and the Cherokees.
Any other discussion or questions?
I would just like to say, I'll keep it brief because I know we're running out of time here. I forgot to mention it earlier, but the vetting process was very public, and I did get to review some of the other proposals, as did a lot of the people in the seats tonight. So I would just like to say that even though some of us are new JPs, that does not mean that we haven't gotten a chance to look at some of the other candidates and review their proposals. And that's all.
One quick comment.
Justice
Apparently, if you might, yeah. one quick comment, Margaret, or Justice Bartley. And maybe the folks that were contacting you weren't in your district, maybe they were coming from mine. Because a number of the people I've talked to are still hold that they don't want a casino in Polk County. I do get some, I'm not gonna say that they're all that way, but I do get a number of people that are in support of CMB and the Cherokee coming here. But an overwhelming majority of the people I talk to, emails, phone calls, at least in my district, still do not support a casino in Polk County. And I feel it's my duty to represent them on this court.
I would agree, and I feel the same way. It's my duty to represent District 2, and I did not get one communication that said vote against the Cherokee.
Judge,
All right, any other discussion?
Yeah.
Justice Sparks.
I have to say that I believe my district that I represent had probably the most people who opposed a casino in Polk County back when we had the elections. And to this day, I still get lots and lots of calls, lots of emails and things, and it's still overwhelmingly in opposition to having a casino here. And I'm like Justice George, not 100%, but nearly everyone that contacts me tells me that. So, thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Yes.
Aaron Carruthers.
Yes.
Alan George.
No.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
David Ivy.
No.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
No.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott.
No.
Jordan Sowers.
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
No.
Blake Tarpley.
No.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
By majority vote, resolution is adopted. Item number 15 is a resolution. Justice Scott.
Yeah. Let me change. This is a resolution, be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Polk, State of Arkansas, to declare a vacancy in Polk County Justice of Peace District 12. Whereas Jordan Sowers filed as a candidate for Justice of Peace District 12 on or about 2/24/2022, then moved out of that district on or before 8/1/2022, was subsequently elected to that position on 11/8/2022 and began serving in that position on January 1st this year. Whereas in their oath of office, Justice of Peace swear to support the Constitution of the State of Arkansas. And whereas the Arkansas Constitution, Article 7, Section 41 stipulates a Justice of Peace shall be a qualified elector and a resident of the township for which he is elected. And whereas Arkansas Code 1414-1306 stipulates all county quorum court district and township officers shall reside within their respective townships, districts, and counties. And whereas Arkansas Code 1414-1306 further stipulates an office shall be deemed vacant if a county officer moves his or her legal residence from the county, or if a district or township officer removes his or her legal residence from the district, township from which elected. And whereas ACA 1414-1309 states, the quorum court of each county shall declare a county quorum court district or township office vacant where conditions of vacancy exist, as demonstrated in the following manner. Upon determination by a quorum court that a condition of vacancy exists in all causes not governed by a failure to be commissioned or finding of judicial proceedings, such determination by a quorum court shall be conducted through the process of resolution as prescribed by law, if the resolution shall have been published prior to the meeting date in which the resolution is to be considered by the court. Now therefore be it resolved that the Polk County Quorum Court declares District 12 Justice of Peace position to be vacant. I move for its adoption.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Probably needs to be discussed. Make a second.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, resolution to declare a vacancy in Pope County Justice of the Peace, District 12.
Discussion or questions?
I'll start us off.
Justice Sowers.
It has become apparent that after I filed for re-election for Justice of the Peace, District 12, that by doing so has initiated concerted effort by Justice Lane Scott to discredit, disparage, harass, and intimidate my family and I in hopes of giving his chosen candidate an uncontested path to gaining my seat. Justice Scott has placed me under surveillance, harassed my family, and spent an extraordinary amount of time pursuing my background in attempts to discredit the fact I am blessed to have a second home, like others who have a lake house, hobby farm, or hunting cabin. He seeks to assert I am unqualified to serve District 12 due to residency, when in fact I own a home in my district and I have provided the county judge with extensive documentation to back up such fact, including my electric bill, water bill, homestead tax credit, and property tax statements, all of which are in my name at my residence. All such proof was provided to the attorney for the State Board of Election Commissions, Chris Madison, who agreed I am a qualified resident of my district under the law. Additionally, the 1983 ruling by the Arkansas Supreme Court in Brick v. Simonetti established the basis for all such challenges when faced with the issue of a candidate owning or even renting multiple residences. 2-26 Arkansas Code R51-102 also states, an established domicile does not end by lack of physical presence alone, nor by mental intent alone. The old domicile must be abandoned with the intention not to return to it. If one moves to a new location but intends to stay there only for a limited period of time, no matter how long, the domicile does not become the new location but rather remains unchanged. The fact is, I own and maintain a residence as required by law in my district. So I don't know whether it is Justice Scott's disdain for the fact that I'm an independent woman who doesn't go along with Justice Scott and his views, or that I'm unafraid to speak my mind on this court and such as have elected to serve my community in this capacity, or whether this political faction has stooped so low as to publicly attack me in hopes I will just fade away. But let me assure you, in front of this body and all those in attendance, I have more resolve than ever to retain this office. And I remind you all of the criminal statute of harassment, which states a person commits the offense of harassment if, with the purpose to harass, annoy, or alarm another person without good cause, he or she places a person under surveillance by remaining outside that person's school, place of employment, vehicle, other place occupied by that person, or residence for no other purpose than to harass, alarm, or annoy. As this resolution submitted by Justice Scott seeks first and foremost to deny me due process and in fact places each justice at risk for civil litigation as a result, I feel it is of utmost importance to follow the direction of the State Board of Election Commissions and the Arkansas Supreme Court over the assertions and allegations of a JP who has made it his personal vendetta to harass and subject my family to unwarranted hardships and stress. I'll add to that I stay at both houses. When my father had his stroke last year and I announced to all of y'all that I wasn't going to be running, I decided not to do that, and I did not sell my house. My grandparents also live at another house that we take care of. He had a triple bypass heart surgery on June 1st of this year. So we switch back and forth because we have a lot of people that we care for. There's nothing wrong with that. My domicile is still that house. I have all the proof. I've given whoever needs the proof. I hope that y'all can understand that I have a lot of people to take care of, and just because I have 2 places to do it doesn't determine my ineligibility to run for my district.
Any other discussion or questions?
It's up to
Justice
the court.
Scott.
Yeah, sorry. It's up to the Quorum Court to investigate this and to decide it. So in order to do that, I would like to ask some questions of Ms. Sauer.
This is not the venue for such questions. You can make a statement, but you can't ask questions of other members.
That's not what the law requires. The Quorum Court of each county shall declare a county Quorum Court district, or township office vacant where conditions of vacancy exist. And upon determination by a Quorum Court, so how are we going to determine it? Resolution shall have been published. It was published, and the resolution is considered by us. And the Quorum Court has the deciding factor. We're the ones who decide. So if we don't deliberate on this, we cannot possibly decide.
Well, again, the venue, I mean, you can ask her questions, but I don't think she'll answer any of them.
She might not.
But this is not the venue for trial. And the entire resolution was not published. The title of the resolution was what was published. So.
That's
just-
not my fault.
But,
I was
so,
not asked to publish a resolution.
That's what it says.
all right, so if you'd like to make a statement, Justice Scott, go ahead. Otherwise,
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is typical of tyrannical people, is that they make a victim out of the perpetrator, and they make a perpetrator out of a victim. Whistleblower gets the blame. So you're okay. So you reported, or it was reported in the Courier, that maybe you'd like to respond to this. You said, "My name is not on the other house, and I don't own it. My husband and my father do."
The mortgage is in my father and my husband's name. When a house is purchased, the title deed is signed over from the previous owners. They happen to put both of our names on there. But on the mortgage, my father and my husband are on that mortgage, not me. I have proof of that too.
Okay, so who would you say owns 606?
My father and my husband. They're on the mortgage.
Even though your name is on the...
Well, I mean, I can go change that easily if you'd like me to. They can go change it. I'll change it, put it in both of their names.
Yeah, the main issue is, where do you live? I mean, that's the real issue. So who lives at 606?
Well, when we have...
again, you're not compelled to answer any questions in this body.
I will say that I live at both residences.
Which is your primary?
My 247 house.
Does that mean that your family lives there?
Yes, when we all go there.
Your family lives there?
Yes, when we stay there, we are all there together.
Out
Do
of
you
a
think I
month-
leave my kids at my other house by themselves?
Out of 30 days, how many times do you stay at 889?
That's none of your business, and that is not a law, and you don't require to know that.
No, it is an appropriate question, though.
It's not any of your business. So I ask you how long if you had two residences and I asked you how long you stayed at one or the other, that's your personal business.
Well, my residence is not in question, yours is.
I understand that, and I'm telling you that it is none of your business how long I stay at one place or the other.
It is the business
I know
of
you
the...
haven't asked my
Call to
opinion.
order.
I know you haven't asked my opinion, but if you're going to ask questions about where someone lives, you may want to reframe that into where you can determine domicile, because that's ultimately what determines whether she's eligible. A
Exactly.
person can have many residences, right?
No, I've not raised the issue of multiple residences. I've raised the issue of domicile.
Okay. So you're asking her how many nights she stays somewhere. You need to ask questions regarding her intent to
That's a
remain in
domicile.
either place permanently, right?
Intent and actions both are important
Right.
for establishing domicile.
Correct. So I just think we need to use the correct terms.
Okay, maybe you'd like to reframe my question.
No, sir, they're not, I'm not the one making a determination. I'm simply providing you advice as your counsel.
How come you didn't answer my question I asked you 2 weeks ago then?
I don't know what question you asked me 2 weeks ago other than billing.
Yeah.
Any other discussion or questions?
Yeah, I can see I'm not going to get any answers, any substantial answers. And I would like to see you prove that I've ever sat outside of your house taking pictures like you accused me of.
I've had multiple people tell me that they've seen you and your vehicle at my residence on 247.
But you need to try to prove that.
I know that.
Judge
Again,
Cross.
this is not the proper venue for banter back and forth. So, Justice George, you need to make a statement.
I'd like to make a motion, we table this motion,
second that.
this resolution.
I'll second
I have a motion and a second to table the resolution. So in doing so, I remind the court, this is a vote to table and table alone, requiring 7 votes. All right, ask the clerk to call the roll.
Philip Haney,
No.
Jackie Heflin,
No.
David Ivy,
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock,
Yes.
Margaret Motley,
No.
Lane Scott,
No?
Jordan Sowers,
No.
Bill Sparks,
Yes.
Blake Tarpley,
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg,
No.
Ronnie Welbanks,
No.
Aaron Carruthers,
No.
Alan George.
Yes.
By a measure of 8 to 5, the motion to table fails, so discussion can continue if there's any more discussion by the court. Otherwise, I'll call for the vote.
Let's vote.
Seeing no further discussion by the court, ask clerk to call the roll.
Alan George,
No.
Philip Haney,
No.
Jackie Heflin,
No.
David Ivy,
Abstain.
Mary Metz Blaylock,
Abstain.
Margaret Motley,
No.
Lane Scott,
Yes?
Jordan Sowers,
No.
Bill Sparks,
Yes.
Blake Tarpley,
I'm going to abstain as well.
Tim Wittenberg,
No.
Ronnie Welbanks, Aaron Carruthers.
No.
By a vote 8 to 2 with 3 abstentions, the resolution fails. Item number 16 is the notice you should have received in your packets regarding the disposition of surplus junk as declared by the assessor and myself. Any questions about that? That's just notice for the record. All right, at this time, it's what we consider as procedurally as an open comment period, but we did have a lady that didn't understand our procedures, had wanted to address the court previously, and so I'll start with her. I'll let you know that 2 of the people that had signed up for non-agenda items have decided they would like to regroup and come back to the court at a future date. It was about dog ordinances. And so it caught me at the break and decided to withdraw that. And so remaining, I'll start with Miss Kathy Heim. If you'll come to the podium, please, and state your name. And this will be in regards to the just defeated resolution.
Kathy Heim, and I am Jordan's mother. I am Rebecca McCrane's mother, and I am Casey McCrane's mother-in-law. And what I would like to state is unequivocally that Jordan Lee Heim lives in both residences, with her domicile being at 247. She goes back and forth. She has done this since she has moved out there by us when they purchased that house and when her dad helped them get that house out there. She has helped take care of her dad and helped me during his healing process from his stroke, the same that she has done with Dustin's grandparents with his heart surgery. And I have one statement to make about this resolution and it being brought up and if there was questions made. I understand there is an attorney that could have been addressed to begin with, to have been asked questions about this. This could have all been resolved without any of this. Without any of this discussion taking place, without any of this disparaging remarks made. And I really do not understand why that procedure was not followed. And if there was concern by anyone in this quorum court, why it was not approached and taken to the attorney who could have solved this without any of this ever going on, without any of this back and forth, and without risks being made in my family. It is not appreciated, and it was not necessary. This could have been resolved without any of this taking place. None of it. Thank you very much.
Call on, is Mr. Thornsberry still here? Oh. Former Justice Thornsberry, welcome back.
Former. I got something that's not too controversial, I hope. I'm going to talk mainly to you, quorum court members here. I've sat here in your seat, and then we didn't have these seats the first time. I served in '76, and I remember, I've forgotten where what years I served before that, or last time. But I ran last time for one specific reason, and that was to hire a grant writer. The first time that I ran, we hired a grant writer. We was paying him a whopping $20,000 a year and a little expense money. He was here 3 years and he averaged $900,000 for the 3 years. Now, you are obligated to give us taxpayers the most services for the least amount of money.
Mr. Thornsberry, can I ask you one thing? You do know we've appropriated the position.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm going to get to that.
All right, sir. I just want to make sure that we weren't behind something.
But I'm willing to address that, though. I think you're paying him too little. But anyway.
He's applying for the job.
Yeah.
Have we hired him?
No.
But anyway, I want to tell y'all what a grant is. And I'm going to read it here. It is a non-repayable fund. In other words, you get it and you don't have to pay anything for it. It's free. Y'all have already passed the biggest hurdle. You've made a position for a grant writer. That was months ago. It wasn't, you passed it, and I came down here 3 or 4 months later to meet the grant writer, and he wasn't here. Now then, I don't know, I noticed that the judge had asked for a couple of grants that y'all talked about tonight. What about those grants you didn't ask about? They're gone forever. And that's what I want to do, is encourage you to get that grant writer, because it's free money for the county. And you guys are supposed to be representing us. Recently, the White House announced $2 billion for clean energy. Well, y'all got 2 big projects going on out here that y'all can get some grant money for that. You can get the solar fields where we don't have to pay any electric bills. You'll have some, but it gets cloudy some days. And you can get the charging stations, and you may even get an electric car or two. But that's to our advantage here in the county. Anyway, what I would like for y'all to do, and recommend it to you, is number 1, form a grant committee amongst y'all, 3 or 4 of you, and work with that grant writer once you give him a raise. Now, I'm telling you, $50,000 a year is not a great deal of money nowadays if you want a very qualified person. I'm going to suggest to you to give him $100,000, and you'll get applicants from all over the country.
You got me right now.
Yes, sir.
I would apply for that today.
Yeah. And Well, you're gonna be the one that'll have to hire him. But anyway, it'll get you a more qualified person, and the salary is, again, more than the county judges, but there's a lot of people in the government that makes more money than the President of the United States does. Now, one of the things that when you raise that salary, you can get somebody that's got experience. And that's the people that you want to hire, is somebody that's got that experience. And I'm about through. But y'all can just get started. I suggest to y'all to put you a timetable to this and set a goal. At your January Quorum Court meeting, form that committee. Give that raise. And then start advertising around the state. By February court meeting, you set the goal of having a new grant writer that starts to work April the 1st. I don't think you can do it any quicker than that. I'd like to see you do it that quicker than that. But anyway, that's my little spiel, and I hope y'all will consider it, because we got a lot to gain and nothing to lose. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Thornsberg.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the public?
Well, I do that there was a mistake on my part, because I should have published this and reading this, and I do apologize, Justice Scott, because I should have published that, and my apologies.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Seeing no further comments from the public, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes. 7:06.
I'm gonna leave on free from that.
He's out on the front step. With
He
the,
has the tech volleyball team.
yeah, that was his whole deal. I got him to take volleyball team on the steps and get him situated. So
So if you had a birthday,
the tech volleyball team did you out.
yeah.
Yeah.